She was on a business trip. She received a call from her nanny that the sheriff had arrived to lock her out of the home she shares with Tyrod Taylor. Now in a relationship and recently gave birth to 22-year-old NBA star Jalen Green. Taylor's company filed an eviction lawsuit against her that she was unaware of.
So this is one of the most bizarre stories I've ever covered on this YouTube channel. And does it have to do anything with the on-field aspect of football? No, absolutely not. Does it have anything to do with any rumors that's happening to any particular rosters or a particular trade that's about to go down? No, but there are times where there are stories that are so bizarre and so crazy, including a woman literally holding your home hostage, that I do like to cover on this YouTube channel from time to time. Now, I can understand if people don't like it when I cover these types of stories on microphone, so we made a brand new channel for it, Flight Mic TV, where we will cover all things that could do with sports, but not necessarily the on-the-field stuff. If you're interested in that, I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. And now that we get all that out of the way, work! We had so much success on Thanksgiving with the Prize Picks free square. If you followed me on Instagram, then you would have seen my pick of Tyreek Hill, Jonnu Smith, and David Montgomery, which hit for a 5x return. Our square of Josh Jacobs and Devon Achane also converted. And my favorite part about this is getting DMs like this. One of my followers made $225 out of my picks on Thanksgiving. And I got many more DMs of you guys hitting with my picks as well. If you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, click on my link in the description or use my promo code microphone to get $50 when you make an entry of $5 or more. We're going to be making picks for the rest of the season for the NBA and NFL, and I give away my picks for free on Instagram and Snapchat. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Tyrod Taylor is an individual that doesn't need much of an introduction. He was drafted by the Baltimore Ravens in the 6th round of the 2011 NFL Draft. And for a 6th round pick in the NFL, he's had a remarkable career. I mean, he made a Pro Bowl in 2015 when he was the Buffalo Bills quarterback. He led them to their first playoff appearance in God knows how long. And when he was with the Los Angeles Chargers, he survived a brutal murder attempt when a doctor punctured his lung, which eventually resulted in Justin Herbert getting the start over him. But for a 6th round pick, Tyrod Taylor has had a remarkable career. The man has earned $76.6 million playing football for the Baltimore Ravens, Buffalo Bills, Cleveland Browns, Los Angeles Chargers, and now currently the New York Jets, where he's even rumored to eventually be the bridge quarterback for the Jets should the Jets decide to move on from Aaron Rodgers. Which, by the way, would be the most Jets thing of all time, moving on from Aaron Rodgers for a 35-year-old Tyrod Taylor. But here's where the story gets interesting. Tyrod Taylor used to date a woman named Drea Michelle. Now, Drea Michelle is a model, but she's also known as an athlete romancer, for lack of a better way of saying it. This woman has been romantically linked to Gilbert Arenas, Deshaun Stevenson, Orlando Scandrick, Chris Brown, and if you paid attention to the first 3 athletes I mentioned, most of those are athletes that you may have heard of in the late 2000s or the early 2010s. And that's because Drea Michelle is 39 years old, and there's some pretty interesting stories about her. To give you an idea of what we're dealing with here, listen to Nick Young describe her.
Pregnant, got the young boy.
Damn, if they only knew. But like, I was shocked too, though. Like that day when I was riding home with Philly in the car. Yeah. I don't know if I can tell that story. If you want me to tell that story.
No, she's a mother now.
She's a mother now. Yeah, we can't do that because that day changed my life. I ain't gonna lie. That day changed my life. That's when Swaggy P was like, okay, now this is what NBA is about.
Now, the list of athletes that Drea dated doesn't end there. She would then start dating Tyrod Taylor, which we're going to get to in a sec. And currently, she's dating Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets. Now, if you want to know why that's a little unique, it's the fact that this woman's 39 years old and Jalen Green is 22 years old, and they currently have a child together. And to give you an idea of where this woman's head might be at, just listen to her response when she's asked if she wants to have another kid and if she sees a future with whoever she's dating.
Do you want any more kids, or are you done?
Oh yeah, I want more kids.
Like how many?
Like one, I think.
So like the person you're
I don't know.
dating, you see like a future with them?
I think the question you were asking me is if I wanted more kids, and I feel like I want more kids, and
Yeah.
I feel like At this point in my life, right?
Yeah.
The relationship is amazing to have, right? But that's not what I'm basing having a kid on, because
Right.
I'm very non-traditional. I feel like you can co-parent without being in a relationship. Maybe just two people say, hey, you want a kid? I want a kid. Let's just have a kid, and like, let's just see.
Really? So you would
I'm
do
very
that?
like free spirit. I'm very open.
So now she's pregnant with Jalen Green's kid. But before she dated Jalen Green, she had a very unique arrangement with Tyrod Taylor. So Drea and Tyrod Taylor began dating in 2020. And in 2022, Tyrod Taylor decided that he was going to purchase a house for Drea. That way, Drea and the two kids that she had with Orlando Scandrick could move in. Now, according to Drea, she entered a verbal agreement with Tyrod Taylor that would allow her to one day purchase the house from him. She says that the two agree that any contributions that Drea made to the property, such as improvements to the place or mortgage payments, would go toward the final purchase price of the home if she ultimately chose to buy it. These types of agreements are fairly typical in real estate, but you don't really see these types of agreements going down between a boyfriend and a girlfriend. I give props to Drea because clearly she's a businesswoman, but there's one huge flaw about this business arrangement. The two never formally entered into a written contract because they were still dating at the time. So it was something like,
Hey babe, can I purchase this house from you one day?
and Tyrod said,
Yeah, sure, of course.
no contract needed. I guess it was an assumption that they were going to be together for the rest of their lives. So eventually in 2023, these two would break up. And Drea would become pregnant with Jalen Green's child recently. Originally, she offered Tyrod Taylor $2.8 million for the mansion. Tyrod would counter at $3.2 million in January of 2024, and she would accept it. Now, again, this is very typical in real estate. The buyer makes an offer, the seller may counter, and then you could counter the counter, then you can make a final offer. But in this particular case, it was very simple. Tyrod Taylor listed the house for sale. She offered Tyrod $2.8 million. He countered at $3.2 million. She accepted. She then claims that she poured $300,000 into the residence, believing it would go towards the price she agreed to pay for the home. So on top of this, she paid $300,000 for improvements to his home that he is benefiting from. So she's pretty much getting double charged here. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Tyrod Taylor is refusing to sell the property to her. And to be honest, I can't really figure out why. According to Drea's lawsuit, Tyrod surprisingly pulled the rug out from underneath her recently and is now threatening to evict her. She states that he's also refusing to sell her the property. Drea is suing for, among other things, breach of contract and is asking for unspecified damages. And as time went on, things would get even worse. A few days ago, Tyrod Taylor decided to call the cops to try to evict Drea from the $3 million home. And it's like, the thing that's so unique about this situation is the amount of logistical issues that these two have from the situation that they both put themselves in. Drea's issue is the fact that there was never a written contract or a written agreement. And Tyrod Taylor's issue is the house is in Southern California. Do you know how hard it is to evict someone in Southern California? And I think that's the most fascinating part about this, because both of these individuals have a lot of obstacles that they need to get through in order to get what they want. So in court documents filed on November 26th, Michelle claims that Tyrod Taylor sent officers to the estate to evict her and her 3 children. Ms. Howard received an alarming phone call from her children's nanny while she was away on a business trip that the sheriffs were at the subject property to lock the occupants out of the subject property. Michelle has a 21-year-old son, Kaniko, as well as an 8-year-old son, Drew, former NFL cornerback Orlando Scandrick, and a baby girl with Houston Rockets star Jalen Green. Michelle claims she was blindsided by the incident, having never received any notification. It was ultimately revealed to Michelle's attorney that Taylor filed an eviction lawsuit through his own company, which technically owns the property. A default judgment was entered in the case, allowing the NFL star to serve her by mail. Michelle claims neither she nor her attorney were ever served with paperwork by Taylor or his legal team. DailyMail.com has reached out to attorneys from both parties for clarification and comment on the matter. Earlier in the year, Michelle filed a lawsuit against Taylor, asking a judge to push the quarterback to sell her a home that he had purchased for her and her children. Another logistical issue that Drea has here is she was never married to Tyrod Taylor. It was very very much, Tyrod Taylor agreed to purchase a house for her and put her in the house. They apparently had this handshake agreement to eventually allow Tyrod to sell her the house. Originally, part of the agreement was any improvements that Drya made on the house would come off of the purchase price for when Tyrod Taylor would eventually sell it to her. But despite making the improvements on the house, which is $300,000 of improvements plus the $2.8 million original value of the house, Tyrod Taylor still wanted to sell the house to her for $3.2 million, which pretty much means that Drya needs to pay $600,000 extra to keep the house, assuming that Tyrod wants to sell it to her, but he doesn't want to sell it to her. The issue is Tyrod doesn't have any link to Drya at all whatsoever. He has no kids with her. This is just an instance where at a specific point, she had a place to live because she was romantically involved with Tyrod Taylor, not through any legal means. And now she's dating Jalen Green and has had a kid with Jalen Green and is trying to keep the house, which Tyrod Taylor clearly doesn't want to give to her. And she's trying to sue based off of a verbal altercation. And honestly, she would have played her cards really well if she had a written agreement with Tyrod Taylor or if she was married to Tyrod Taylor. At the end of the day, if it affects a man emotionally that your ex really quickly moved on to a new man and had a child with said man that happens to have doubled your career earnings in a 3-year span, if you don't want to help that woman or if you don't want to sell her a property, that's up to you. Is it something that I would do? I don't think it really matters. You don't really know what's going on behind closed doors or how this relationship ended. But at the same time, I'm really wondering what's the obsession with this particular home. You've only lived in it for about 2 years, so I feel like this is a battle of egos at a specific point. And if you ask me, I think Tyrod Taylor will probably win. I personally would just sell the woman the house and move on with my life. Clearly, this is a home that Tyrod Taylor never is going to want again, unless if he found someone that wants to pay even more for the house. But in that case, why would you have countered her initial offer? Regardless, I think it's a very interesting situation because on one hand, you have a woman that is literally living at her ex's house after she had a child with her new man that earns way more than the ex. And on the other hand, you have an individual that has a house that he probably doesn't want to use anymore, that he can sell for a tremendous profit, who would prefer to evict his ex-girlfriend. And I think that's a very interesting situation. So let me know in the comment section down below, who do you think should win this? Do you think Drya will end up winning this? Do you think Tyrod would end up winning this? I like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.